Join us Monday through Friday, 5 to 7 a.m., right here on Freedom FM 106.5. Anointed mornings, empowered days.
Feet on the floor, but my heart looking high.
Have you heard that Mind, Body, and Soul is back?
Yes, Mind, Body, and Soul is back on Sundays at 4 p.m. only on Freedom FM, hosted by the inspiring Julie Charles. This is your go-to show for thought-provoking and uplifting conversations. Every Sunday, dive into topics that nourish your mind, body, and soul. From wellness tips to personal growth to deep conversations, Julie brings you the stories that inspire change and spark reflection. Don't miss out. Tune into Mind, Body, and Soul on Sundays at 4 p.m. and let Freedom FM guide you to a more balanced and inspired life. Mind, Body, and Soul on Freedom FM Sundays at 4 p.m.
Get the Freedom FM app now. Just search Freedom FM app on Google Play or the Apple App Store and start listening today.
The new Vita Malt bottle is here, and it's returnable. So don't throw it away, bring it back for cash. Return your empties to your local Carib Brewery Depot and distribution trucks in St. Kitts and Nevis. Vita Malt. Enjoy it. Return it. Let's keep St. Kitts and Nevis clean.
FreedomFM1065.com. From St. Kitts and Nevis to the world, Freedom FM 106.5 FM.
Every day we're faced with choices to spend or to save, to delay or to stay on track. It's discipline that shapes our future because discipline means making the choice today that pays off tomorrow. Remember, discipline, choice, pays. A message from the Development Bank of St. Kitts and Nevis.
Oh, good afternoon, everyone, everywhere. Bonjour, tout le monde, tout partout. It is 1:33 in the PM in St. Kitts and Nevis, and it is a wonderful Caribbean day. I walked across the city to get to the station, and I can tell you that it is hot, but it is breezy. Now, I can't explain that. It's hot, but it is so breezy. It's like, it is hot, but you don't feel like you are uncomfortable. You are listening to Freedom FM 106.5, and this is Issues with your host, Coach Adrien. It is always great to have you on my show. As usual, I always ask you to give me a little time out so that I can reach out. Let me say hello to all my fans and followers and supporters everywhere, wherever you are listening. My friends at work, my friends on the road, some at home, and some of them are having a late lunch. My listeners in Nevis, I have some great friends in Nevis, Montserrat, Anguilla, and I met friends in the Virgin Islands, in Antigua and Barbuda. Oh, how are you doing, my Springer, Vernon Springer? Yeah, Vernon Springer. Of course, he's Kittian, but he has taken residence in Antigua for some time. St. Martin, that's right, sort of folks still. And of course, I can't forget my friends in North America. I know the boys, my St. Lucian boys, they must be celebrating in New York. New York is on fire. And New York will be on fire perhaps for the entire year. After 53 years, they have put their hands on that NBA championship. And I'm very happy for them. I'm very happy for them. I'm very happy for them. Now, let us run. Let's run like Julian Alfred. Juju, we call her in St. Lucia. The fastest woman in the world. 100 meters in 10.72 seconds. And she says that is Lucia pressure. Now, actually, I forgot to big her up. I forgot to big up Juju for winning the 100 meters at the Oslo Diamond League. That's on June 10th, 2026. Now, she won that 100 meters in 10.76 seconds. That's a little 4 seconds. 100 for a second. And she also won the 200 meters at the Rome Diamond League on June 4th, 2026. And she did that, of course, in 21.93 seconds. And she still say it's Lucia pressure. This girl is good. Tifia bon. Ou passado boutli sakako wiko en cheval. Today, we do part 4 of the IMF 2026 Article 4 report for St. Kitts and Nevis. Our issue, as we advertised last week, what the IMF report says about the government finances. I want you to remember our method. We discuss the IMF findings in the context of the political economy issues associated with the selected findings in the report, or the one we are highlighting. And this afternoon we are highlighting government financing. So what does the report say is the state of the government finances? The state of the government finances. Now, when we say government finances, we are really talking about the monetary resources, the monies that the government collect, the monies that government spend, the savings or the reserve or other assets that the government have. Now, sometimes we use the term public finances, or in economics, we speak of the fiscal health of the government. Now, we are interested in our discussion in what the IMF report says about how the government manage these things that I have just mentioned, and how the government decision affect the economy, because, you know, the IMF does not place a lot of emphasis on the society. In the IMF report, the state of government finances is evaluated using what we call in economics some key metrics, and that the kind of metrics that dictate the economic stability and fiscal stability. And they are really, that's just the term that we use, revenues. We evaluate revenues, that is the income generated by the government through taxes, individual taxes, corporate taxes, sales. In fact, I just received a notice from the Inland Revenue Department to remind me that I need to pay my property tax by or before the end of this month. So everybody listening, remember your property tax is due by or before the end of June. So don't go and spend all your money in the music festival and you don't have enough money to pay, because you'll have to pay a penalty. The other metrics is expenditure. That is the money that government spends for running the government. The institutions of government take care of roads, schools, hospitals, health centers, providing social welfare, safety nets, and whatever. Now, if the government spends more than it collects, I'm just trying to set up this thing for you so you can understand the discussion that we're going to have. If the government spends more than it collects, we say it runs a deficit. If it collects more than it spends, we say it runs a surplus. Now, running a government business or government business is not altogether unlike running your home or your household affairs or a typical business. It's not exactly like it, but the principle or the business principle that underline or that informs or that drives the decision, they are really the same. And to put it in a way that you can understand, if you are spending more than you are getting, you must find the extra from somewhere. Of course, perhaps from your savings, if you have, or from your credit union, if you're a member, or from your bank, or from a person who loves you. That person becomes a bank to you. Or from a person who trusts you, or from a family member, or if you go to church and you have good friends, from a church member, or if you work, from a co-worker. Now, the point that we are making here, that if you are spending more than you are getting, you're going to have to finance that extra. That extra, somebody got to pay for it. You got to find it. Or you will take the money that you have promised to use elsewhere. Maybe some money you were setting aside to take care of your children, or you were setting aside for a nice holiday. You got to take a breather. You have to take care of yourself. That's what Solomon said. You can't just work, and work. You have to work and enjoy yourself. If you're not enjoying yourself, it's pointless working. Actually, you're making a mess of yourself. You got to live life to the full. You got to enjoy it. You got to go out. You got to go and enjoy yourself. Because Solomon said, tomorrow you die. Or you have to take that money, perhaps, that you're obligated to pay at the end of the month. Perhaps it might be your rent, your man, your child support, or if you are in a partner hand and you're supposed to give the hand, you use it. Or if you're in a friendly society, supposed to pay your dues, you don't pay it. Now, these are not necessarily things that are good, what I'm saying there. But the point that I am making, you cannot spend more than you get unless you have to get it elsewhere. And normally getting it elsewhere is not a very comfortable thing to do. Now, the difference is that governments, when they spend more than they get, they can withdraw from their savings or from the deposits that they have in the commercial banks. Government can borrow from financial institutions that they have influence. You know, government have influence over certain financial institutions. I won't mention names. And then they can use the influence on their board. And because, well, they are the one who set up the board. So, so they likely to get a little more sympathy there and whatever. Government can take money from projects. Now, that's not necessarily good. So monies that are marked for a project, government can put pressure on the civil servants. They know they must not do it, and they say they're not doing it. Government, the minister, can put pressure on them for them to divert the money. Well, that's a kind of misappropriation. There are certain projects they cannot do that, particularly projects that are coming from international, the EU and things like that, because you can't do that. The governance of those projects don't joke. Government, of course, they are government. Government has the power to raise taxes. That is what you and I don't have. We don't have that. And they already sent me the notice and tell me, Peter, make sure you pay your house tax before the end of June. And they are lovely people. There are some people at the Inland Revenue who do a very good job, and I just want to big up these people. There are some of them that are dedicated, they are lovely people, and they go out of their way. There are some in other departments and other places, they don't do enough work, but that is a different thing. And as I'm on that, let me just say, I love the people at the post office. I love the people at the post office. I have been doing business with them for a very long time. I love them at the post office. They take good care of me. The parcel area, the gentlemen there, the boy, the girls there, oh, they are magnificent. The ladies are magnificent. And I just want to big them up. I want to let them know that I appreciate the service that they do for me. And sometimes I put them under pressure, and yet they don't get vexed up. Magnificent people. So these are some of the people that I would recommend a double salary for every year. All right. So government can also, what they can do, and something that they do best, they can delay payments of goods and services. So like normally government keep a very high payables, that is an accounting term. So they know they have to pay RAMs, they have to pay value mat and so on, but they just delay that. And of course, another thing that they do, the money that they should have used to provide basic essentials at the schools and the hospitals, sometimes they neglect that. Now, you should not take a chance with that, particularly at the hospital. Later on, I think, if it's not in that talk show, but somehow we will talk about that. So the point that we are making is, just like individuals, but more so with government tend to spend more than they collect. Now, in the IMF report, every report, what the IMF does, it gives you a section that is in that section a report on the government's, how the government's responded to the recommendations that they made the previous time that they met them. So you can go online and read that. In fact, for this one, for the 2026, that report on the penchant of the government to respond to the IMF report recommendation is on page 54, and it says the pension of the government to adhere to its 2025 Article 4 recommendations. And I just want to take a little quotation, an extract from it for you, so that it is going to pull just an extract, an extract. You find that in Annex 7 on page 54. Annex 7 assesses the government's progress on the 2025 Article 4 recommendation with respect to the government's commitment to rationalize current expenditure. So in other words, the government and IMF agreed that they would make an attempt to rationalize or to control the expenditure. So by the time they come next year, which is 2026, they would then give them a result and the progress that they have done. Okay? So the IMF staff reported, and I am quoting, page 54, It says current expenditure were reduced in 2025, but mainly through cuts to spending on goods and services. Nevertheless, all components of the current expenditure remain above pre-pandemic levels. And then the IMF staff signaled this one. It says wages went up and transfers declined modestly. End of quote. Why am I saying that to you? I mean, there are a number of other reports that they give on the government pension to their recommendation. But I chose this one because we are speaking about government fiscal management. The IMF reported that since the last review in 2025, government, I'm just putting it the way I understand it, government chose to increase payroll or to hire more persons, even if they had flagged to them that they were supposed to cut the number of persons that they hire, to cut payroll. But since that time, government chose to increase the number of persons that they hire, but they chose instead to cut on welfare and cut spending on goods and services for the hospital, for schools, for road, and for operating essentials. I want you to get that clear, I want you to get that clear. IMF cannot force the government to do what they want. IMF can only report on what they are saying, what they are doing. So in that sense, obviously, the government knew that they did not have the capacity to hire more persons or to have a larger payroll. But the only thing I can conclude, they are vote catching. They are vote catching. They are buying votes. That's the only thing I can conclude. Okay, that's what the IMF said. IMF didn't say they are catching vote. I am saying that. Now, and then the question is, what is really the answer to the fiscal problem or difficulty that the government experiences? According to the IMF report, it says payroll and payroll-related expenses is a red flag. Payroll and payroll-related expenses, red flag. Government has become, that is my interpretation, government has become what we call in economics the employer of last resort. Now, when I saw that, I went back to the 2024 IMF report to see whether the IMF had dealt with that same issue in 2024. I saw the IMF dealt with it in 2023 because I have all the reports. But I chose page 6 on 2024 IMF report. And let me just read it for you. I'm actually reading the quotation. I'm reading it. It reads like this. Tax revenue continued to fall due to a decline in income taxes. Public wages rose rapidly despite a high wage bill relative to the regional pairs. The regional pairs means the other countries in the OECS. And the government is recording a deficit. End of quote. That is the extract I took from the page 6 of the IMF 2024. Of course, the sentence does not run like that, but I pulled the extract out of the page. Right. So what we are saying here is that there is obviously, notwithstanding the commitment that the government makes, because remember, at the end of each Article 4 report, they have to meet with the government, and in fact, the IMF report recorded clearly that the government agrees with all their findings. The government agreed with all the recommendations, and the government undertake to do all what they say they would do. Of course, that's what they'll say. You keep you quiet, you shut it up. You that's it, get you off their backs. Now, the last calculations that I did, I took a number of various tables and statements from the IMF report in 2025, the 2025 IMF report. And I tried to do a compilation so that I can do a calculation of the government payroll. And this is what I discovered. I checked the 2023 report and all kind of stuff. This is what I found out, that the personal emolument, that personal emolument and payment for goods and services were 84 cents of every dollar that was collected by the government in 2022. And it was 82 cents of every dollar collected in revenue in 2023. Now, you understand what I'm saying? 84 cents. How do you run a government on 16 cents? How? Those who have gone to school and who have all kind of PhD and have all kind of masters and degree, if you those boss accountants, those who have more degrees than a thermometer in accounting and in business management, please call. When we open the line, call and tell us how to manage a government on 16 cents on a dollar. Now, it just came to my mind. Can you run TDC? Can you run Rams? Can you run Horsford on 16 cents on a dollar? And the 84 cents goes to payroll and benefits? You can't run a business like that and stay in business. Now, here is the arithmetic. Here's an arithmetic that will startle you. And that number I'm giving you is valid, is replicable, is reliable, is scientific. Of an estimated population of 53,000, that's what I use. The number of people on government payroll, from the source that I pull it, referred to as public administration, is 10,947. 10,947. Remember, when you talk about the population is divided into two. You have the dependent population and the productive population. That is among, you take all the people, the children, people up at school, people up to not working age and whatever, and people who are pensioned, people who are sick and whatever. So we have to pull from that 53 the working population. And of that working population, the government's people on payroll constitute 43%. In fact, I did a calculation. Later on, I'm going to give you the actual exact calculation. So public administration, of course, when we say public administration, let me just explain that. When we say public administration, we are referring to all government services or all services that are on government payroll. That's what we are talking about. Now, the other government-owned or majority-control operations, we don't refer to them as they're not in civil service. These are what you call public enterprises, like Development Bank, National Insurance, and stuff like that. SKELEC is not involved in that. Skelec is a company. It's a company owned by the government, owned by one person. So so when we're talking about government, business, government revenue and expenditure, don't talk to me about Skelec. Please don't talk to me about Skelec. Because Skelec is a company. And in a sense, when governments say that, they are helping us by giving millions of dollars to Skelec. In a strict public finance sense, this is misappropriation of public funds. Let me say it again. So don't come and tell me, oh, we put in money into Skelec and we're helping out. Shut your mouth. Don't tell me that. Because it's a company and you must allow it to function as a company. The people not paying, the party supporters who are not paying their bills, make them pay. And if you cannot manage it, make the company public. In fact, I have a whole talk show I have prepared. I have a model, the model that I'm going to present on how you can make Skelec one of the most profitable and the most efficient company in the Caribbean. So don't come and tell me, oh, government putting millions into Skelec. Who you think you're fooling with that? You're trying to buy votes. You're buying votes. And all the governments have done that. From Douglas to Timothy, Jew, everybody. They are trying to buy votes. And they are destroying the infrastructure of the country. Every time there is a power outage, you're losing money. Businesses losing money. People's fridges and other stuffs are mashing up. Look, don't speak this thing to me. We're not stupid. We're not stupid, please. Everybody knows that you can, if you want money in a company, what to do. You put the money, you make it public. You get money out there. You get management. You get technology. You get skill out there. But government don't want to do that. That's a way that they hold the country in prison. They hold you in prison and make you depend on them. Now, I go back to, because that should have been en passant, but I got a little emotional on that. Going back to the 10,000 persons who are on government payroll, I did some calculation and checked some other countries. It's very strange, the things that are done in St. Christopher. Very strange what is done in St. Christopher. Government has one person, government employs one person in terms of ratio to serve every 4 persons in the society. This is magnificent. This government machinery should be the most efficient in the world. Perhaps, where else can you find that? I tried, I did all the research, I can't find that. I can't find any country where you find one person on an average to serve 4 persons. That is great efficiency. Life should be like heaven in St. Kitts. But you still have to wait in long lines. You still have to call several other times. That's except from those people I just mentioned. The post office people, don't touch them. They are nice people. They take care of you. And even during the Christmas, when you have all these problems with all the parcels, those people have a way of doing things. Look, for years we are with them. We never lost an item. Don't touch them. Don't touch them. And there are some magnificent people, great people at IRD. But I'm not talking about them. But when you call some government offices, you call the government offices, call the PBX, you can't get it. And when you get it, sometimes the voice on the other line is a rough voice. It's not cultured. Government business, government office, they not polish them. Or they put you on, you say, put me onto the Ministry of Social Affairs. You end up at another ministry. In some areas, your document remain in government offices for a very long time, department for a very long time. So when our government come and tell us they are giving the people a double salary because they are hard workers, the government know that they are lying and they must stop this stupidness. We're not stupid. It's a small country. That is not America. That's not New York. We can count all the people on the palm of our hand. Everybody know each other. When I walk down 4th Street, on certain days, I can actually visualize how many people. And sometimes I stay at the corner of a street and I count people. Be careful what you are saying. You play your politics, but stop this thing. Now, here's the arithmetic I told you about. Government employs 40.5% of the working population, meaning that to every 100 persons working in St. Kitts, to every 100 persons working in St. Kitts and Nevis, 41 persons are employed or on government payroll. Basically, we are paying taxes to provide jobs for Labour Party supporters. That's what it is. IMF will never say it like that. IMF will not say that. The document cannot speak like that. But that's basically what it is saying. The people are paying taxes to provide jobs for party supporters. We'll take a break for advertisement, and after that, I'm going to open the line, and then we are going to look deeper into the state of government finances. Let's take a break.
The new Vita Malt bottle is here, and it's returnable. So don't throw it away, bring it back for cash. Return your empties to your local Carib Brewery Depot and distribution trucks in St. Kitts and Nevis. Vita Malt. Enjoy it. Return it. Let's keep St. Kitts and Nevis clean.
FreedomFM1065.com. From St. Kitts and Nevis to the world, Freedom FM 106.5 FM.
Every day we're faced with choices to spend or to save, to delay or to stay on track. It's discipline that shapes our future, because discipline means making the choice today that pays off tomorrow. Remember, discipline, choice, pays. A message from the Development Bank of St. Kitts and Nevis.
Wake up, worship, walk in purpose. Start your day grounded in faith with morning devotions with Serenade. Uplifting worship, powerful reflections, and encouragement to strengthen you for what lies ahead. Join us Monday through Friday, 5 to 7 a.m., right here on Freedom FM 106.5. Anointed mornings, empowered days.
Feet on the floor, but my heart looking high.
Have you heard that Mind, Body, and Soul is back?
Yes, Mind, Body, and Soul is back on Sundays at 4 p.m. only on Freedom FM, hosted by the inspiring Julie Charles. This is your go-to show for thought-provoking and uplifting conversations. Every Sunday, dive into topics that nourish your mind, body, and soul. From wellness tips to personal growth to deep conversations, Julie brings you the stories that inspire change and spark reflection. Don't miss out. Tune into Minds, Body, and Soul on Sundays at 4 p.m. and let Freedom FM guide you to a more balanced and inspired life. Minds, Body, and Soul on Freedom FM Sundays at 4 p.m.
Get the Freedom FM app now. Just search Freedom FM app on Google Play or the Apple App Store and start listening today.
Welcome back to Issues. You are listening to Freedom FM 106.5. We are broadcasting from Sugar City, St. Kitts. This is Issues with your coach. I will open the phone lines. We are talking about the IMF report, what the IMF has to say about how the government of Dr. Drew is managing their finances. In fact, I'll open the line. I give the preliminary introduction, and then I'm going to give you the actual what they say with each of the line item. The number to call is 662-1065, 465-6474, 465-0546. But we have let me just say, some people normally call me on my phone, 6689752. If you call me, I will not be able to hear you because I shut off the voice. But if you message me, because the number is also WhatsApp, I will read the message and put it to the public. Now we have outstanding message from on our social platform, and I think one person is reminding me that I said that I'm going to speak about destiny. But the person is not remembering exactly what I said. I said that when I'm finished with the finances that I am going to speak about will deal with destiny. What I plan to do is simply that once we are finished with discussing the finances, because remember we did the economic situation, we do the financial situation, then I'm going to close it on what I call what are the options available to the government. Within that, I'm going to go into detail. I think I have done a lot of research. I have interviewed a lot of people. I think I'm ready now. And we are going to take our time and deal with the SSZ and the destiny, because I believe that's a very, very important issue at this time for the country. All right. So somebody's on air. You on air, please? On air.
Good afternoon, Peter.
Good afternoon.
Yes, you're very right in your analysis as usual. You're asking the hard questions and giving the tough analysis and saying the things that, as you pointed out, the IMF probably wouldn't say. Okay? But the thing is...
They wouldn't say it the way I say it.
Right, the way you say it. Yes, right. But the thing is, how do you respond to people who say, well, that is how politics in the region is practiced, right? Each party try to outdo the other party, each government try to outdo the other government in terms of providing stuff for the people. They are not, that's the easier route, I think, for them, than to actually go out there and create the atmosphere and get investment that would make their payroll smaller, government payroll smaller, that would make the country more efficient, right? That would give us more growth. That's the hard way of doing things, even though it is the right way.
I think what you're saying. Go on, continue. I'm writing, yes.
Right. And the problem, too, is that the voters, the citizens, buy that because they keep asking for more stuff. Right? They're not going to say, and say, well, this is going to have a bad effect on the country. They are more interested in getting stuff now. Okay? And the government, with their lack of vision, will decide, give the people what the people want now. Right? And as a result of that, we end up in a situation where, and yes, there's growth, but we could do much better. The country would be doing much better if it's managed much better, right? Rather than what passes for essentially politics. We're not into economics and the best way of running a country, the governance issues. We're more into the politics of it. How do you give people more stuff? Sometimes in doing that, you end up in a hole, you end up with deficits. But that is what they would tell you win elections. And after all, in the party system that we have, isn't that what it's about? It's not about economics. It's about winning elections. So what do? We're in a quandary, right? The experts like you might show us the best way of getting out of the mess that we're in, but it's not good politics, right? And that, I think, is the problem. So I don't know where we go from here with that. Yes, of course, when people get stuff, they feel good, and they think that, well, my government gave me this. They don't look down the road. Why should they look down the road? Okay, they're interested in now. And it's unfortunate that most of the politicians these days, they are not interested in making sure that the country is in good stead further down the road. They're more concerned with the politics of now. And that's unfortunate. That's how I see it. Might be wrong, but that's how I see governments operating. Just look at how they always tout any little thing that is given out. They make
okay. Don't go too long because you can come back again. I'll write down a lot of what you say there.
They make a big song and dance about it when, in fact, they're making a big song and dance about things that they shouldn't. Okay? And not concentrating on things that they should. Okay then.
You can. I have written down a number of the stuff that you have because there are other people on air. You on air, please?
Yes, good afternoon, Coach Adrien. Good afternoon, a better day to all.
Stay there. That lady that I just reminded myself that I need to meet with you. Could you take my number, 668-9752?
668-9...
668-9752. That's the only number that I have.
All right, good.
Like you, if you can send me a nudge so that I can arrange for us to meet. I want to speak intellectually with you. That would be nice if you'd allow me.
Thank you. You're raising the bar quite high. But let me just make a few comments here, if I may.
Take your time, yes.
Yes, I'm just going to try to be as brief as possible. I agree with many of the things you've said and picked up, by the first caller. But I just want to say one or two things. I am not going to attribute all of this to the present administration. But I think that what you're saying, and it would be good if the administration can listen, if they can listen and make corrections. For example, the utilities. Electricity and water should not be in the current situation they are in terms of the big, debts that they are in. Water, for example, we pay $20 per month. $20 per month for this, 1,000 gallons or however many gallons of water we can use up to. Let me not get that figure wrong, but $20 per month. And many people don't pay. They may pay the rent, they may pay other things, but they're not going to pay government. And government never thinks of just shutting off once or twice. They would pay because you have ordinary people who would go every month to pay their bills and others who won't. Same thing with electricity. You're going to have your air conditioning and your this and your that, and you don't want to pay for your electricity. Cut them off, and they will come back and learn to pay. And that is what we think is a case of discipline. Now, when you spoke about the IMF, and that the governments don't have to bother with what the IMF follow up. Well, only to a point. That is only to the, as you would agree, only to the point where you don't have to go to them to ask them for money. And that's the problem we ran into several years ago. In other words, you must manage your debt so you don't have to go to the IMF and have them tell you what to do. And that is something that our present administration and any in future should always be careful about. Not to run up your debt and say that you're going to spend here and there because you think, and then put the whole country into a problem. You have to raise rates here and so on the poor man, because we don't have personal income tax, and so the tax burden tends to fall relatively heavier on the people at the lower level of the income. That's it one. And then the last thing I would say, again, just following up on all of this, is that we just have to be mindful of how we go about things in terms of the projects. If you're going to get projects where you can employ your own people, that they can generate income for themselves, that it can help to boost expenditure in your country, why you let it go elsewhere? I still can't understand that. And so these are the elements that they need to look at if they want to go in the right direction and still deal with a lot of these things, but do it the proper way. Thank you very much.
If we have no one on call, we are going to stop the calls now. I want to respond to those two callers, and then we'll open the line again. Okay, so let me just begin with the last caller, and then I go back to the first caller. About the employable projects, I'm going to deal with that. In fact, I want to do some research. When I say research, field research, and then that will come in when we talk about what are the options available to the government. The other thing is that about the utility. I have prepared a talk show for us to speak about a model for SKN, and I don't think it's new, because I have had high-level discussions and administrations from Douglas and whatever. They know it. But I've had said they are using this as a way to catch vote, to buy votes, and to create a dependency of the people on them. But what actually they are doing, and they don't realize, they are hurting the economy. And let me just take my time and explain that. The internet economy is powered by electricity. In fact, you can have the fastest computer if you want. You can buy the fastest package from Flow, whatever. But if you don't have electricity, everything comes to an end. In fact, I have been at supermarkets, and then the cashier people, the long line, there is no power. People cannot pay. They cannot settle their bill at the cash. So every time there is a power outage, actually what you are doing, you are stopping the flow of the economy. And how you are stopping the flow of the economy? You are stopping the flow of the economy at the very point of the most important point, at the point of payment and settlement. Can you imagine a lawyer doing some international business and there is no power? What happens? Contracts are lost, money lost, delays in whatever. Look, even government business, you can't do that. You can't go to a place, say like IRD, Inland Revenue, and say you have no power. If you run in a business does not refuse money. A business does not get itself in a state when money comes, you can't take it. No, that's not how you run a business. A business means cash flow. And therefore, anytime money comes, you must take money. And every time you must have the opportunity to make money. That's very, very important. So the idea of SKN, I think it is deliberate by administration, because I have done my homework, and in fact, I have heard other resource persons who are more intelligent on this issue than me, and who are more informed, and who also furnish me with the resources and the weekly broadcasts. They have given the numbers. The arrears at the water department, the arrears at inland revenue, the arrears, and I will speak to that because IMF cannot touch that. The arrears at Skelec is humongous, is massive. And why is it massive? It's massive among top party supporters who can afford but will not pay, and they cannot do them anything. So the last caller is right. The first caller is right. It's not government that we are running. This is party in power. It's party in power. So it is not about development. It is not about, and that is not to say that the politicians, they don't know about development. They're not interested in development. That's not true. They are interested in development, but they are also interested in their survival because they are corrupt politicians, and therefore you have that clash of interests. But the idea of party supporters who are crippling government agencies and government collecting points and government services, this is unpardonable. This is unpardonable, and whether you are PAM or whether you are Labour or whether you are People's Labour Party, I don't care with that. This is immoral, because as I began and I told you, I receive my notification from the Inland Revenue Department because I deal with them online to remind me that June 40th is the last day for me to settle my property tax. And that is magnificent. That is beautiful service. So there are people who are conscientious, who are doing and making their sacrifices so that the country, the hospitals, and whatever, the schools can function well. And I love the hospital. When I go at the hospital, I do not know why people complain the hospital like that. It's a lot of talk. Every time I go there, in fact, I have spoken about the hospital. The people take magnificent care of me. They take care of me when I go to the farm. And the last time, about 3 or 4 centipedes stuck on my hand, and my hand began to swell up, and we drove down to over there, and they took care of me, and they gave me some shock. I think I almost passed out. These people are lovely. We have to learn not to bite the hand that feeds us. So the issue is that there's a certain ethics and a lack of morality, in a sense, that colors the things that some of the party members do, and they are allowed to do it. Now, let me go back to the first caller. The first caller said about the handouts, that the people have become, or they have been trained and to depend on the handout and whatever. And if you don't give them the handout, they don't care what happened and whatever. That may be so, but I know I speak to a lot of people. I know a lot of people. I don't know everybody, but everybody in St. Kitts, the people are not stupid. They are intelligent people. They are great people. They may not have all these degrees that you all have, like a thermometer. And many of the people who have degrees is the most stupidness they're talking about. I don't hear them. I see them. And in fact, when they speak to you and they tell you how many masters they have, you wonder what school that give them that, because some of them really speak idiocy, I can tell you that. So I believe the people are more intelligent than that, because the people understand the development of infrastructure. They know the importance of the infrastructure for them, for their enjoyment, for the smooth operation of their business and their home. They understand the importance of that platform for their health, for the children's education. For example, that is why they would meet me and they say, Coach, why didn't they put more money of the CBI when they had it into buying generators for so and so? Now, that's a good thing to say. But the real thing that they need to tell me, and I always tell them that, government needs to get his hand out of Skelec. Out of Skelec. Make Skelec a public company. Give skeleton to the people so it will benefit from money, because the people, there's no lack of money. It will benefit from money. It will have that needed capital that it requires. It will have management skill, and it will have the technology. And I mean by technology here, the embodiment of technology that it requires, the machinery under this, under that. So don't fool anybody with that. I know the model of Lucilec in St. Lucia, one of the best run utility company in the Western Hemisphere. The model have been presented to St. Kitts government for a long time, but they don't want it. They don't want it. They want to hold us hostage. And let me tell you something. As I say that, I have a generator, and if I operate the generator, say for a day, when there's a power outage, I pay 3/4 of the amount of money that I pay for my electricity bill for the month. Why? Because diesel is very expensive. But when you punish me like that, I am the same person that must come and pay the huge property tax that you came and assessed my house for. You have no conscience as a government. You have no conscience. You are beating the people for doing well. And you are preventing those who want to do well from swimming. Let me just say the last thing on the previous caller, that I always refer to the Douglas model. The Douglas model did not have a lot of welfare in it. But what was the locomotive power of that model was the fact that the economic model allow for strong forward and backward linkages and great circulation of money. Construction, this real estate, and that, and this, and that. So while new money was coming in, activity was taking place. In fact, at that time, I remember, you could not find a carpenter, you couldn't find a mason, you couldn't, fellas who did not know how to build any house, they say they're contractor, because there is so much work. So, because this government is not able to ignite, to put the economy on fire, it's trying to bite the other way. But it ain't working. We have seen that the consumer spending is not working. Okay, we can open the line again. I'm going to go into the details of the finances, but we can open the line 662-1065, 465-6474, and 465-0546. Okay, somebody is on air. You on air, please?
Hello, good afternoon.
Yes, I can hear you. Yes, talk to me.
Yes, you're so right. Because we really had a good economy going the other day. I don't know what happened. We just have borrowed those generator, we gone back to them again. I don't know really what's going on. And just as you said, these bills look like only the poor person supposed to pay them, and not the rich. That's nonsense. We all are one. We all supposed to pay our bills on time. The next thing these people about absorb. What are they thinking? They absorb. You're paying them for nonsense. Huh? They ain't doing no work. You're giving these people so much money per month, and they ain't doing no work at all. We got to come in, call in, a last person calling and say, well, this to do and that. Advise about it, really advising. All that I always look at. The advising thing, everything is just a joke. People advising, they got big money, they're getting big money. So, we the little one got to call in, this one do, that one do. What the advisor doing? Just collecting government money every month for just a joke, laughing at the, as they say, the fool laughing at us. We like the fool then, and there's the wise one. I think that wise one thing I don't like it at all, and I like how you're doing it right now. The poor girl, come do this something with skeleton. Do it like the people that get think somebody gonna be paying. Some people say me ain't home all day. Why you got to pay this big electrical bill for? I ain't home. Well, who home? I wonder what they'll be doing. So you're on a good topic. Good afternoon, okay?
Thank you very much. Let me just respond to this one. Somebody on, okay, I have written it down. I'll respond. You on air, please.
Good afternoon, Mr. Peter.
Good afternoon, sir.
I would like to engage you on something. You said that you are very well researched on Skelec and on Lucilec.
Yes.
How well are you researched on Nevlec?
Give me a direct question.
My direct question is, are you aware?
Hello. While you are speaking, I'm writing down what you are saying, sir. So don't be scared that what you are saying, I'm writing it down. Okay?
No problem.
You can dig in again.
Pardon?
I say you can dig in again. Take your time.
Yeah, I was asking you, how well are you researched on the Nevlec situation? And the reason I'm asking is, are you aware that the government offices, the government's bill at Nevlec is about $70 million. And if the government isn't paying it, and now that the pressure is on, they are reintroducing surcharge on the poor people who owe a couple $100. Not that they're not supposed to pay, but it seems to me like the government's just running on poor people. If they're not paying their part of it, I mean, that's the reason why at some point Nevlec here had to borrow $10 million to pay the fuel bill. So this is something that if you're not, I'd like you to research and probably give your opinion on it.
I will do that.
Thank you, sir.
We see, I have said it before, so because I'm having a lot of difficulty getting information on operations in Nevis. I'm having a lot of difficulty. And because of that, a lot of my highlight is St. Kitts. And because also, as I said at the beginning, or the second talk that we had on the IMF report, a lot of the official reports are really consolidated as federal reports, and therefore they really consolidate for St. Kitts and Nevis. So a lot of issues in St. Kitts are lost into it. That is why, with respect to the destiny, I have taken my time to do a special work on that. And maybe, I don't believe I will finish the finance in this session. So maybe next session I'll finish it. As soon as I finish it, I'm going to do a detail that will be the first detail I can do on Nevis when I do the destiny. But I'm going to research what you said, sir. Because in both cases, whether Nevlec or whether Skelec, it is politics that they are playing with electricity. It's politics. And I lived in St. Lucia. I lived in Jamaica for some time. Until I came there, I never see that before. I never see. I remember government played so much politics with electricity, mashing up people's fridge and people's this and that and that. And afterwards, Douglas came out and did a political twist for the election. He gave everybody a chance to go and buy generator. But some people can't buy generator. But the point that I am making, in other words, here am I, Douglas. I am Las Casas. I am the champion of the people. When the people were suffering, I came in and whatever. Don't give me that. You created the problem so that you could come in and do that. And all administration after him have not done anything different from that. Now, let's take an advertisement. You have a call? Let's take the call. After that, we'll take the advertisement break. You're on air, please.
Good afternoon, Coach Peter. How are you doing?
Good afternoon. Very good, man.
Hey, yeah, man. Are you listening? Now, Peter, listening, right? Sometimes it's the politician that does make people don't want to pay the bills, Because, like I said, that they should privatize, collect, and government must take the hand out it. Because what happened that when the government in charge, especially a party supporter, they let the bill run up, and when you look, maybe when the politician them go talk to the boss or whatever, and give them a leave or something, and this is the problem. You understand? Government got to take the hand out of these things, and when the political campaigning, they make the people feel like things are easy, and people talking about handout. Now, if a man working for a minimum wage or whatever, and he get a small pension, nothing wrong if a government could find something and give him or give some family, so especially look how they do the liberation program and $3,000 a month when Unity was in. Nothing wrong with that. But
there's nothing wrong with that. No, that's okay, yeah.
Because those things help the economy going. And these people, the children, they're going in the supermarket and they're going to shop. They're going to buy food, they're going to buy this, they're going to buy that, they're going to do whatever for the children. So this money going back in the economy and going to help for the bill, the water bill, the lights bill. So I'm so agree with you that sometimes government got to, privatize some government take business. Anyway, you have a wonderful day. Somebody here have a confusion. I don't want anybody to go over here, All right then.
Very much. Thank you very much. Somebody else? That is correct, because you have to be careful with how you treat and how you respond to when we say handout. Handout is a kind of, I studied politics and political economy at UWI. Actually, the connotation of handout is a kind of dirty word, dirty phrase, because it's like that sugar daddy I'm buying you. But in economics, we don't use that term. We say welfare, or we talk about safety nets. And let me tell you something. The role of the government is to make sure it provides employment and to make sure it takes care of civil society. That is why government is not just there to come in the morning and go in the afternoon. No, government is set up so that it can create a happy place for civil society. That is the problem. That's what government is all about, Government is like a home. Daddy and mother is supposed to create that happy environment for the children. That is important. Very, very, very important. But because this thing have become a career, and because it has become party in power, so it has become a very, in a sense, it is, we win, we are in power, you lost, and you're not in it. Let's take an advertisement break, and then I want to get back into, I have not even highlighted the IMF report on the nature of the finances. What I actually did was the introduction to it. Let's take an advertisement break.
The new Vita Malt bottle is here, and it's returnable. So don't throw it away, bring it back for cash. Return your empties to your local Carib Brewery Depot and distribution trucks in St. Kitts and Nevis. Vita Malt. Enjoy it. Return it. Let's keep St. Kitts and Nevis clean.
Every day we're faced with choices: to spend or to save, to delay or to stay on track. It's discipline that shapes our future, because discipline means making the choice today that pays off tomorrow. Remember, discipline, choice, pays. A message from the Development Bank of St. Kitts and Nevis.
Wake up, worship, walk in purpose. Start your day grounded in faith with morning devotions with Serenade. Uplifting worship, powerful reflections, and encouragement to strengthen you for what lies ahead. Join us Monday through Friday, 5 to 7 a.m., right here on Freedom FM 106.5. Anointed mornings, empowered days.
Feet on the floor, but my heart looking high.
Have you heard that Mind, Body, and Soul is back?
Yes, Mind, Body, and Soul is back on Sundays at 4 p.m. only on Freedom FM, hosted by the inspiring Julie Charles. This is your go-to show for thought-provoking and uplifting conversations. Every Sunday, dive into topics that nourish your mind, body, and soul. From wellness tips to personal growth to deep conversations, Julie brings you the stories that inspire change and spark reflection. Don't miss out. Tune into Minds, Body, and Soul on Sundays at 4 p.m. and let Freedom FM guide you to a more balanced and inspired life. Minds, Body, and Soul on Freedom FM Sundays at 4 p.m.
Get the Freedom FM app now. Just search Freedom FM app on Google Play or the Apple App Store and start listening today.
Welcome back to Issues. Now we want to go into, I have taken 3 highlights from the report just to highlight the state of the government finances. And I'm just going to take the page and give you the extract of the quotation. The first one, the fiscal I'm beginning the quote, the fiscal deficit remained elevated at 11.7% of GDP in 2025. CBI, citizen by investment revenue, fell to 3% of GDP from 8.6% in 2024 and from almost 26% at the peak in 2022. You get that on page 5. It says that the revenue, the deficit has been increasing. I'm going to explain it. I have a table. I'm going to explain it. But it says that what used to buffer, or if you want, used to finance the government deficit was CBI revenue. That is drying up. In fact, it says that it is at one point in 2022, it was 26 cents to a dollar. But now it is only 5 cents to a dollar. You can understand that simple arithmetic. 2, it says the current account deficit also remained wide as 14.6% of GDP in 2025. And that is well above the pre-pandemic average. I'm going to explain for you later on. Then the last one, I'm quoting from page 12. It says current expenditure requires further rationalization. And remember, I began by telling you that the government took an undertaking in 2025 to cut expenditure. But I showed you that they reported that, in fact, what government did was to cut expenditure on goods and services and then increase the number of people they are hiring to catch vote. I say at about 44% of GDP in 2025, it remained well above the pre-pandemic average. And it says there, streamlining should focus on tighter control of the wage bill. Again, on page 12, it is advising the government to cut down on the number of people that is on payroll. Now, I have put the basic metrics in a table here. So I have highlighted total revenue in millions of dollars, total revenue from 2023 actually went down drastically. Total revenue went down drastically. That is the amount of money that they collected. It was 1.3 billion. In 2024, it's 995 million. significant drop. I also look at the overall balance before grant. I take off grant because as a high-income country, grant is not significant and a revenue item for St. Kitts. Now, what it shows very clearly from 2021, that was during the Harris's administration, when they made a surplus. Yes, Harris did make a surplus in 2021, a surplus of 95.8 million. That's what's significant coming after the COVID-19. But since 2022, the deficit have been wide, from 151 million in 2022, 2023 to 48 million. And something happened between 23 and 24 that is so ridiculous. I cannot even understand that. To me, the arithmetic looks so stupid. Like there is some recklessness there. Because from 2023, it went down in 2020, 22, 23, 23 by 48 million. That is the deficit. That is the overspending. But in 2024, the government overspent by 293 million. That's crazy. Look, and then what happened to CBI now? The CBI is only available on an annual basis, and I put it from the central bank platform up to 2024. I have 2025, but quarterly. I didn't want to mix the quarterly with the annual. But however, later on I'm going to give you. We can express it in GDP. We have in GDP up to 2025 and a projection for 2026. The CBI have been falling precipitously. If you look at 2022, from 669 million collected, 2023, 621 million. 2024, 240 million. So basically it's drying off. It is drying off. And then see what is happening now. We express it as a percentage. That is to say, all what that the country earn, the GDP, let's call it a dollar. In 2022, CBI contributed 26 cents. In 2023, out of the dollar, it contributed 22 cents. In 2024, it contributed 9 cents. In 2025, it's contributing only 5 cents. Basically, that is dying. That is dying. That is dying. And that's why the government is being crippled, because that was the finance of the deficit. At the same time, look at what is happening there. And that's the frightening thing, what is happening. What is happening? Government is drawing down on the monies it has in the commercial bank like a reckless child. In 2022, it was 22% of GDP. 2021, 21% of GDP. Express it, see it as about 21% to 20 cents to a dollar. Now, in 2024, it's 11 cents to a dollar. And in 2025, it is 7 cents. So, in other words, the government is drying everything at all front. You don't have to go to school to know that we are in serious trouble. You don't have to go to no school to know that. Simple. So since 2021, the amount of money collected has been falling, indicating weak activity, of course, in the economy, and perhaps larger arrears, the number of people, party supporters who are not paying taxes, from 1.3 billion in 2023, as I said, to 995 million in 2024. So what exactly are we seeing here now? What are we seeing? What's the message? From 2023, the government have been drying up its savings at the commercial bank. My calculation shows that government brought down its savings at the commercial bank from 587 million that they had in savings in 2023 to 311 million in 2024. And in 2025, they brought it down to 200 million. Something is crazy. And the arithmetic is not wrong. The arithmetic is... So if something is crazy, it's not the arithmetic. And at the same time, the government debt service payment, what they're paying for borrowing from the commercial banks, it increased by 67 million they paid in 2023. They paid 73 million in 2024. And now they made history. In 2025, everything is going worse. It reached 101 million that they had to pay. So in other words, not only that the government collecting less money and progressively, not only that the money it was getting from CBI is drying up, but the government is taking more and more and more debt. Now, guys, let me tell you something. You don't have to go to no big school to understand that this is basically a recipe for disaster. Because what is really happening is that the thing that used to buffer this thing, the CBI funds, that is what is not happening again in the same way it used to flow. And there is no other ideas to get things going to bring in more revenue. Or the people who are not paying, who owe hundreds of thousands, some of them party supporters, businesses and individuals, make them pay or take them to court. The money collected from citizenship by investment or for the sale of St. Kitts passport has been falling precipitously. And the point that we are making is it is drying up and there is nothing to take its place. You remember how I began our discussion? I juxtaposed the management of a household to that of the management of the government. And I said that if you are spending more than you are getting, what are the likely things that you will do? Maybe don't pay your rent, borrow from some people that you know you will not pay back, or the money that you had hidden over there for your medicine, for this and that, for your blood pressure, you use it elsewhere and whatever, or some money that you know somebody gave you for the child and the child has whatever, maybe the child has to go for an operation, you use it. In other words, this kind of recklessness that we see at the individual and household level, it happens at the level of government, and that should not be, because the government is one of the places that is most endowed, because every ministry has specialists, people who are trained in all areas of accounting, economics, and this and that. But when the minister comes into power, he assumes more knowledge, he assumes more skill and exercise more power, and he wants to tell the people who are there, who know what to do, how to do it. If they don't agree with him, then he tells them to get a new job, and if they are not getting a new job, they send them to Siberia. They send them to a place where they're going to be miserable. They'll be miserable. Yes, that's what they do. I want to stop here. We certainly will have to continue next week on the state of government finances. I want to thank you for your calls. Thank you for your edification. Thank you for your contribution. And I want to let you know that that without you, the program is not going to be what it is. So until next week, same time, same place. Freedom FM 106.5 with Coach Adrien. Bye-bye.
Get the Freedom FM app now.